Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. We're kicking off holiday month, and Steve Baxey is of course nowhere to be found, as is typical for Steve Baxey during holiday month. But that's okay.
Yeah, that fucking bastard.
Yeah, oh, hey Steve. We weren't talking about you just now. Alfie's also here. Hi Alfie.
Hi, I'm glad Steve... Oh! Never mind. That joke's already been taken. Hello. I am Christmas special of Alfie Geek for Fun.
Oh, nice. I can tell you spent a lot of time preparing that one. So we're here today to start off our holiday month with a review. We're going to do mostly reviews this for holiday month, and we'll do one discussion topic at the end for the Christmas special. And Steve picked our first review for holiday month. What are we talking about today, Steve?
Alright, today we're talking about the 1992 Christmas classic, Batman Returns, which I did pick for several reasons. It does kind of create this sort of trilogy that we have done, from talking about the Wolfman as a monster movie, to then talking about Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi and Tim Burton and that whole relationship, to now kicking off holiday month again with more Tim Burton. So I feel like there's something there. You could listen to those three conversations in a row and kind of get something out of them. No,
I tend to agree. It was interesting kind of watching this movie in the wake of Ed Wood, because fairly recently we did an episode talking about like each Batman film. Or was it each Batman actor? I can't remember.
It was supposed to be each Batman actor. We ended up talking about every Batman movie.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. But yeah, and Alfie and I both kind of on the same side with Batman Returns of like, it's not really good. It's not our favorite. It doesn't really like rank up there for us. And so it's interesting to kind of come back to this. I haven't watched this in a number of years because I just remember being kind of like, on it at best, and frankly annoyed at other times. And I still have some of those feelings, but I don't know, I guess I've gained a different appreciation for Burton in the intervening years, and again, just on the heels of the Ed Wood discussion, I kind of got some of what he was going for a little bit more. I'll still say it's probably not in my top Batman movies, but I enjoyed it more than I have in the past this watch through.
Alfie, what about you?
I can't say the same. Character development for me. When we did that episode, had still seen it somewhat recently, maybe a couple months prior. So my thoughts were pretty well formed, and then for this watch again, I just feel the same about this as I did prior. I don't enjoy this movie. I still think it's a very pretty movie, and there are individual scenes that I think are either outright good or have a lot of potential. But outside of that, I think this is maybe one of the worst screenplays I've ever seen for a live action movie with this level of craft behind it, I guess I should say, because this is still well crafted. This isn't sloppily put together. I think Barton honestly had more going for him as a director with this film than he did the first one. The first one, I think he kind of was still getting used to the size and the scope of it, and a lot of those scenes kind of show, even though, again, he's a really talented visual eye, so there's some gorgeous shots in that movie. Still a very pretty looking movie. But this one, I think, is when he really gets to show what a Tim Burton Batman movie looks like, and not just like the mix of the studio with Tim Burton, etc. So I think it always has merits for that, and I think it's always going to be important and iconic because it's Batman Returns and because it's such a singular take on the material that you don't normally see before. But in terms of personal enjoyment, it's just maybe 10 years down the line I'll gain more of an appreciation for it or something, but at the moment just a no from me.
I'm happy that we have kind of a range of opinions here because Alfie doesn't like it. Ian's kind of in the middle on it. When I watched this most recently a couple days ago, it was like a revelation. I feel like this is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Okay, that's
This is in my opinion the best Tim Burton movie. It's kind of neck and neck with Ed Wood for me because I feel like Ed Wood is a movie where Tim Burton is explaining to you who he is, and then Batman Returns is the movie where he just does what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you watch those two together, you get a very clear understanding of like here are the whys and the hows and the kind of motivating drive of this director, and then here is him doing his Ed Wood style, throwing everything at the wall. And so like it's kind of the ultimate Burton movie in the way that Ed Wood is kind of like the ultimate explanation of Tim Burton. But like I was rewatching this, and then I started looking up some stuff about the production and reading a lot of like essays about it and like the sort of modern critical reevaluation of it and stuff. And like I don't know, man. I feel like there is a 4-quadrant Batman nexus that we exist in. And if you were going to make a list of like the greatest comic movies of all time, 4 of those movies are just going to be fucking Batman movies. They're going to be The Dark Knight, they're going to be Batman 66, they're going to be The Batman, and they're going to be Batman Returns. I feel like Batman Returns is one of those movies that ages like fine wine because the more time goes on and the more we start to kind of feel receptive to what he was trying to do, the more everything about it pops. I disagree very vehemently with Alfie. I don't feel like it's a poor screenplay. I think it's an exceptionally efficient screenplay to get at what Burton wants to do. And the layers of how the characters kind of parallel and stack with each other are really fascinating, and you could like go on for days about it. In the past, I didn't really love Burton's movies because I'd always kind of felt like Burton cared more about like Joker and Catwoman and Penguin than he cared about Bruce. But like watching it this time, I realized for the first time, oh no, this movie is actually making a very compelling argument for who Bruce Wayne is, what he wants, what his insecurities are, and why he rises above Catwoman and Penguin in a way that's extremely nuanced and subtle. And it doesn't have to like beat you over the head with him speechifying what he is and what he does. You just kind of see him be Batman in a way that parallel these 2 other characters that are representations of his psyche in really interesting ways. Like Catwoman and Penguin don't make sense as character arcs unless you understand them as reflections of what Bruce is trying to do. And I just love it. I think it's a fantastic movie.
I'm going to be very interested in hearing Steve explain this because I, for one, this shit is so fucking subtle, man, that like I'm gonna have to take up a Steve Maxey funded Batman Returns class because if we're talking this is subtle, all right then, man. Like fucking micro dust is extremely subtle too, you know. Like, but I can see there's some moments that I'll give you and we'll talk about because I think I know where you're gonna go with it with some specific scenes. And I think that makes it more so that it's just something I don't particularly care for how Burton chooses to execute those ideas. And I think I still am of the opinion with younger Steve, I guess, because rewatching this, I made a tweet about it where I was just like, Burton seems fundamentally bored by Batman. Just every aspect of the character, he seems kind of like, all right, this gives me an excuse. And like, it's interesting because when I hear him talk about other characters with like Superman and such, he very specifically focuses on that character. You don't see him talk about Luthor or Brainiac that much in like the Superman Lives documentary. In all the behind the scenes scenes I've seen for him and Batman, he'll mention Bruce Wayne as like he's alone and I relate to him. And then you ask him about the Penguin, he's like, "Oh yeah, but the Penguin though, and he had this whole carnival thing." It's like he's like way more excited about that kind of thing, just in terms of infusion. So I think there is still it's probably a little bit of A, a little bit of B, right? Of like I think if you asked him for a casual conversation, which he's more interested in, he'll probably say the Freaks, and I think that comes through on the screen. But I think when he's making a movie, he is paying attention to Bruce Wayne, and it is a little disingenuous to say he doesn't care about Batman at all. I guess for me, it's just not a very particularly captivating version of Batman to begin with, that I'm not, when I'm watching it and enjoying as an audience, you're not giving me much reason to invest to the tech that's sorted. You're not giving me much reason to look into Keaton's performance. When what he's giving me isn't when he's giving me is just super's cold, Alfred. Well, it's meant to be cold outside. Okay.
That's funny,
It is,
funny.
but
It's so good.
I don't know if it's good. It's funny.
If that shit was in goddamn TAS, you would be lapping it up, all right?
I
Kevin
would,
Conroy with the
but that's
same
because
hand as Alfred drawing him a bath, you would be lapping that up.
I think that's just because Conroy gives a better performance than Keaton does. There's emotion in Keaton's performance. I don't think that's a hot take, Steve.
I think they're not comparable because one's a voice actor and one's a visual
Right,
actor.
for sure.
So like, but I think
Yeah.
over the years, people have maybe not given Keaton his due as an actor, because I think the way he plays Batman, I think, is actually really, really good. And I didn't think that before. I used to think that like his limited body motion in the suit lended itself to really cool dramatic turns, and his voice is good, but I never really got his Bruce Wayne. Number one, rewatching this movie, but also number two, watching him in The Flash, I finally kind of understand, oh, this is what Michael Keaton was doing as an actor in these movies, and he was actually really fucking good in them. And we don't appreciate enough like how much he's able to do deadpan humor in a way that feels kind of quintessentially Bruce Wayne, but also in a way where you get like these moments of like quiet doomed romance with Selina, and the way he talks about himself and as like this kind of like quiet socially awkward thing. The thing about his character in this that I really, really love is the entire movie is Tim Burton's specialty. It's entirely about society being decadent and broken and in conflict with itself, and you have these outsider freak characters who are against that, and there's always this tension between like, are the people who are not well adjusted because society is fucked, or is society something that's like worth preserving and these people are truly outcasts? And you're kind of getting the range of spectrums on that. You go through Burton's other movies and you look at something like Edward Scissorhands, and he like literalizes that metaphor to the most he's ever done, where you have big gothic castle and then it's immediately connected right next door to 1960s Technicolor suburbia. And so the criticism is like really in your face of like, Edward looks like an outcast, but at the end of the day, he's really not. It's this facade of American suburbia, this commercial culture that's with this woman selling everyone Avon products and everyone being disingenuous, that is actually kind of freakish, and it pretends to be normal. And you do the same thing here in this movie, and you have characters like Penguin and Selina who are really struggling with that specific relationship. Selina in particular, I think, is like a consummate Tim Burton character, because she essentially at the beginning of the movie has like this apartment and this life that makes her feel like she wants to be one of those women that lives in the suburbs of Edward Scissorhands. She wants to have the Technicolor life. Her apartment is freaking frilly and has doll houses and shit. She wants to go out and have relationships. She wants to like work in this company and move up and like actually like carve out a life for her in the American dream. And at every step, it is either not going her way or is actively kind of broken. And one of the best scenes in the movie for me is when she has her freak out at the in her apartment, where she hears that recording of the voicemail of the lady selling perfume, and the hook is that your boss will want to take you out to dinner, and then she just screams and throws up and trashes her apartment, and all of that coming off the heels of her trying to speak up in a meeting and Max Shrek saying that we hadn't broken her in yet, and her getting all those death glares from like this cold, sterile men, her being thrown out the window by her boss, her being broken up with over a voicemail with her boyfriend who's going on their Christmas vacation by himself, which is just kind of fucked on its own. And so she just kind of fucking snaps. And she and Penguin and Batman all have this tension between the world they live in versus the world that they want to be a part of. And the thing about Batman that makes him so much more powerful than these other two characters is Penguin can't decide if he wants to be Oswald Cobblepot or Penguin, and he oscillates between those two. Selina can be powerful as Catwoman, but she has no alter ego to go back to, because as Selina, as a woman in this world, she is just constantly going to be berated. The only way for her to have any sort of agency is to be Catwoman. And then you have Bruce, and he talks about how when Vicky broke up with him, the idea was that he had two parts of himself that he couldn't reconcile. And Selina, like, more accurately points out, no, it's not that you couldn't reconcile them. It's that she didn't like the way that you did. And when you put the movie in that perspective, you realize the thing about Batman in this, through two different worlds. He's not conflicted about Bruce Wayne and Batman. He has a outer persona that he projects, and he's got a confident, normal persona that he projects, but he is not struggling with that relationship, and that's what makes him useful, because he is a product of this society that's actively be able to resist it without ever becoming a true outsider. And Penguin and Selina aren't able to do that, and that's why they're both doomed to fail. And I feel like that, like as like the center of the movie, is the most quintessentially Tim Burton thing. But it's also like, just on its face, that's a consummate Batman story right there. Of it is the struggle between Bruce Wayne and Batman. And here the answer is there is no struggle there, really. At the end of the day, this Bruce is a person that has solidified who he wants to be, and he's sure of himself, and he's socially awkward, and he's confident in all of these interesting, nuanced ways in Keaton's performance, but he's never doubtful of what he's doing. And you almost never see that on film with Batman outside of Adam West.
Okay, I wanna use this as a chance to jump in, because I want to talk about what interferes with me being able to kind of get to
else's thoughts on that.
Get to that level of analysis, okay? Because there's a lot of shit in this movie that's just fucking dumb. Like, and I'm so conflicted of it, because the part that I enjoyed more about this rewatch than I have in the past is Tim Burton. Oh, Steve left. Steve's back. So the part that like kind of got to me about this, that I was able to enjoy more, is Tim Burton, seemingly without ever actually read a comic book, managed to capture like a vibe of comic book Batman that just no one else has dared to touch, which is just like the... Can you hear us, Steve? Are you like lagging?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just that he's touched like this vibe that no one else has touched yet, where it's just kind of crazy, over the top, ridiculous, and at the same time dark and kind of cool. But he's done so in such a way that is so distinct from what the dynamics are in the comics, what the characters are in the books, that it just becomes very alienating, and I kind of hate it. So the character I think is just got the most of this is Oswald Cobblepot / the Penguin in this, because that's just not the Penguin. That, like, no comic book version of the Penguin before, and mostly since, has ever been anything fucking like this guy. And yet it doesn't seem like Burton didn't realize that, because he created a character that is much more like the Penguin of the comics in Max Shrek. This kind of like seedy businessman, this political player that will like use all these dirty tricks and kind of blackmail people into doing what he wants them to do, and play people and like put people up as pawns and maneuver them around the board. That's the Penguin. And so
okay, but that's anachronistic, right? Like, that's not who the Penguin was in 1992 by any stretch at all.
I mean,
right? Because, so here's the thing, right? Like, there are 3 Penguin takes that people know at this point, right? There are Danny DeVito Penguin, there's now Colin Farrell Penguin, and there is the Batman animated series Penguin, where he's kind of a loser. More modern sensibilities, you've got like the schemer Sopranos style guy with the Tom King Penguin happening right now. But historically, basically up until like the 80s, Batman villains didn't really have like distinct personalities, because they were all just the Riddler. Every single Batman villain, including the Joker and the Penguin, were just like people with one appearance-based gimmick that just told riddles about the crimes that they were going to commit. And like this continues all the way through like fucking Steve Englehart in the 70s, where the Penguin is just like, he's a weird jewel thief who steals bird-themed things and leaves Batman clues that where the answers are birds. And so like, I get what you're saying about like who the Penguin is more generally, but by 1992, there were not many, if at all, any stories where Penguin is that.
I mean, you've read more historical Batman stuff than I have. I don't usually go very far past the 80s with a lot of Batman comics, so I'll just have to take your word for it. But it's just, then they rapidly developed that character into something completely different by like fucking No Man's Land. Well, like, but it's not just this though, right? It's not like they just took the movie take and ran with it. Like, No Man's Land happens late 90s, early 2000s, and the Penguin is fully formed as the fucking schemer. So your argument
that's what I mean. It's
is
like
that the
90s,
development
right?
happened very, very rapidly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because it's by the 90s where all these characters start to get like individual personalities. Like, to be honest, right? Like, if you go historically with any Batman character, with very minor exception, most of them don't really have a personality until the late 80s, early 90s.
My thing I'll say to defend Ian's point a little bit, because I have read more prior Batman comics and stuff like that, is the first thing we get for the Penguin that's meant to like, because you're right, Steve, they are very much in the mold of just all being the Riddler, but the very specific thing from his first appearance with the Penguin, it's on the cover, is it's something to the effect of more charming than even the Riddler or the Joker. It's the idea that the Penguin among these guys is the gentleman thief. Like he's the guy you'd want to work for even back then. He's the guy that's like kind of silly looking with his rotund exterior and his monocle and those things, but he's got a little bit of class to him. Right? He's not a psychopath. He's someone that will do these bad themed crimes, but with an elegance of like, Dark Knight detective. It's almost in many ways like the precursor for the voice we'll give to Raish, which I think is interesting. But then we go to something specifically to this movie, because I think when talking about these adaptions, we can get lost in the weeds with like what came before, where we're not treating it fairly on its own. With this, I think is an exception, because they are directly pulling from Burgess Meredith with 66 with the whole Mayor plotline. Is directly from a Batman 66 episode where the Penguin runs for mayor. And in that episode, Ian, Penguin is straight up exactly what you're describing. He's the schemer, he's charming, he's very, like, there's a whole sequence where he's got Batman and Robin tied up and they're dangling an acid, and he comes in and he's like, wah, wah, wah. Oh, Batman and Robin, I've discovered this horrible crime. As an upstanding citizen, I shall alert the GCPD immediately. It should probably take me about 6 hours, but I'll be back in time, so be sure to be fine, Batman and Robin, bye-bye. It's like, it's a very, you can imagine the modern Penguin doing that very similarly. So they clearly knew going into it, and part of the stuff with the Mare plotline is they've got the classic Penguin image on the posters, so they know what they're trying to do is that image in your mind of Murderous Meredith, that image in your mind of the Penguin as Sophistica, they're directly going against that intentionally with this version of the Penguin by making him so horrific. That is meant to be part of the idea of this, of like this guy wants to be that, but he never could be, and then what does that say about Bruce? All well and good on paper. In execution, Danny DeVito's Penguin is hard to watch. I just plainly, I do not like his scenes. Like, even if I can acknowledge that as like, this is what he's doing, this is what is intentional, I don't like how he delivers it. And this goes to my screenplay thing, where I think they go really far over the line with crassness to where it is just, I don't particularly, like, I'm not having a good time. Well, every 5 seconds he talks about wanting to fuck someone. You know, like, it's just a little much, if that's fair.
I mean, again, I feel like some of it might come down to just like personal preference, but I do feel like, again, a lot of that stuff is intentional, right? Like, at the end of the day, the movie is, like I was saying before, it is about that sort of Tim Burton thing of like the conflict between people who appear monstrous versus who actually are monstrous. And like, the other thing that's really interesting about Tim Burton movies is that, like, you've got the outsider and you've got society, right? Like, you've got Edward, and then you've got the whole little town he's a part of. But within these towns, he does also like craft and have specific characters that are products of those towns that are still resisting them. So like, you've got what's her name, Kim and Edward Scissorhands, who Edward falls in love with, who is not like the rest of the people in the town. Or you've got like Lydia in Beetlejuice, who is not like her parents and is actually someone who wants to help the family in the house at that movie. And like, in this case, you have Batman, who kind of fills that Winona Ryder role in this, where he is of the society that is diseased, but it actively resisting it. And then you've got Penguin doing the exact opposite of that, which is he is not of this society, but he is doing everything he can to worm his way in. And like, in that relationship and like that push and pull, you're kind of seeing the nuances of like, the world might be fucked, but it's not so fucked that they can't understand when someone like the Penguin moving in is permissible versus not. Like, there's a line Max Schreck has towards the end of the movie where he says if the Penguin's parents didn't abandon him, he would have just been Bruce's friend in like prep school and shit. Like, these are two guys cut from the exact same cloth. And the fact that Penguin's monstrosity is on the outside and he doesn't have a way to rectify that, and Bruce's monstrosity is a costume and he can hide that, is really the difference at the end of the day. And it doesn't like absolve Bruce of being part of this society. You even have that scene at the beginning where like, even the implication that Max Schreck can go to him to bypass city legislation to get what he wants because Bruce Wayne is rich is an indictment of the situation Bruce Wayne is in to begin with, which is, this is not a city that functions. This is not a society that functions. But that doesn't mean that there isn't good sensibility in it. And the fact that the Penguin is so monstrous that he can't actually be redeemed even under a situation like this, but he still kind of struggles to go back and forth, is what makes him kind of sympathetic and tragic all in the same package, where he is, at the end of the day, he's all-star Batman from the Bizarro world. When Bruce goes to Bizarro Land, or when Superman goes to Bizarro world, and Bizarro's like, Bizarro Batman was shot dead by his parents. That's the Penguin in this movie. He's the Batman whose parents abandoned him, and then he comes back, but because of that act, he's got an entirely inverse perspective on this.
Again, I kind of like the idea of where you're coming from, and with this watch through, I started to get some more of what Burton was going for, but every time I started to kind of get into it, there's just like a move that was just fucking dumb. Like, I have nothing else for it. Selena Kyle being resurrected by cats is stupid. It's always been stupid. It's never not going to be stupid. And it's not just like as a comic book fan that likes the, more grounded versions of these characters or anything. That's what it started as for me. But it's just like, it's just really dumb. And to try to illustrate how stupid I think it is, when anyone else besides Burton tried to do it with the fucking Halle Berry Catwoman movie, it just was incredibly stupid. And like again, it feels like he's trying to go for like this kind of comic booky vibe, particularly with just the way that like things kind of happen and events are just kind of all taking place at basically really convenient times, and there's not like a second thought about it. You know, it's just, oh, it's the tree lighting ceremony today, or oh, this thing's going on today. How could, oh, Max Shrek is having a masquerade ball. It's like all these like very kind of hokey comic book things, and I kind of like those vibes. But then like Burton just inserts his like own personal spins on, I guess, what he feels these characters should have been or could be, and they're just so far off base that they're like, he's essentially created fully unique characters that just share a name, and his takes on those things don't have any history or reverence, so it's like this movie is kind of all you get. And when your reaction, for me at least, comes away as, well, that's just dumb, then it gets hard to invest further in some of those deeper ideas that Burton's kind of like got peppered throughout his career, because I'm just distracted by, in my mind, very poor decisions. Like I don't think the like anything you've talked about with where Penguin stands in relation to Bruce Wayne on this like me like the freak inside or the freak outside versus society. I don't think any of that's like very dependent on a bunch of penguins walking around the city with fucking rockets strapped to their back, and then like just the scene where they like come out from behind the ice thing and like Paul bear his body into the water. It's just really laughable and dumb to me. And that's kind of the thing for me with this movie, is every time I start to get a little into it, it does something where I'm just like, but no, I can't with this shit.
It gives some positive stuff. For two things that I'll say that I like, to go to Steve's point, is I like the line Bruce has when he's getting choked by Danny DeVito in the most unflattering onesie ever worn by a human
Jesus
being.
fucking Christ.
When he's getting choked by him, he's like, "You're just jealous because I'm a real freak and you have to wear a mask." I really like how Keaton delivers like, "You might be right," and he doesn't fight that. Like, I actually think that's a really cool idea for Batman. Of that, like, he actually is kind of like, I wish my face just looked like a bat. I kind of would be like more into that. I think that's really interesting. The other thing I like is I really like the moment where Bruce is talking to Alfred and he sees Penguin on the news and he's like, "Oh, do you think this might be something?" And he's like, "No, I hope he finds who his parents were." I think that's a really earnest Batman take as well. I think that's a really interesting thing. My two issues is I don't think the movie is as interested in those ideas as it should be, because then it places its focus on things that you can thematically get there if you put in the effort. But I, at that point, would argue, why don't you just make that a scene instead and be a little less subtle? What's there to lose? Like, I don't think this movie gains anything by making so those interesting ideas subtext. I think it would only be enhanced if we had more scenes between Bruce and Penguin. And when we do have scenes, I think they miss the chance to use those ideas, because we have that scene where Bruce expresses sympathy for Penguin, and then once he's in the Batmobile and he's chasing him after like almost the next direct scene, he's immediately distrustful of him. And then we go to when they first meet face to face, and they're like kind of being dickheads to each other. And like at that point in the story, they really don't have any beef. Like, the Penguin should really have no problem with Batman. He's not fucking around with his thing. He's like, the scheme he's planning is basic mayhem, and if anything, for his idea of become the mayor, Batman stopping the crime and Penguin endorsing it is like a boon. But he's like, that the whole, "You don't really think you'll win, do you?" That's what I mean when it's like, I think this is a really poor screenplay. That line makes no sense in the context of the event. What would Batman win? They haven't met before. Like, it doesn't flow. Like, it feels like that's from a prior draft almost, and there's like scenes missing that would inform that context, or that would be a later theme. And then you get the introduction of Catwoman. Catwoman shows up, and then her and Batman start having this interaction, and it feels like we're skipping beats to. I'm fine. I actually quite like, because it's goofy in this kind of soup scene you mentioned, Steve. You remember when Michael Keaton, like, Michelle Pfeiffer's touching the bat suit, and it's like, that's not you, that's you, that's you. He gives like this most schoolboy, haha, the girl's touching me smile, like, ever. Like, it's really fucking funny. Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, that's really fucking good. I love that.
Yeah, so and then he gets stabbed. I'm fine with that. I like Batman being kind of like, Catwoman gets to him because he's kind of sexually repressed, and he's really, really into dangerous women in leather, and so I don't mind the world's greatest detective actually having a bit of a weakness because he's got a bit of a pussy hound. I think that's kind of funny. I'm here for that. But my issue is we play with that scene and they kind of just were throwing one-liners at each other without any rhyme or reason, and it's not giving me an insight into what that dynamic could be. I think you could just, if you have to have those beats play out, I think what lets like the visuals are fine, the choreography is for the time, right? It's the 90s superhero action. What do you want? Michael Keaton can barely move his arms in that suit. He's not going to be doing really cool fight scenes. That's all fine. My issue comes down as to, I would love someone other than fucking, is it Sam Hamm who writes Batman Returns as well, Steve?
He does. He has a story credit on it, but the script itself is actually by Daniel Waters.
Okay, because again, I think it needed another pass at the dialogue page, because every time with one of these things, it's like the most generic movie one-liners that don't even the first film didn't really go for that, and even the Schumacher movies, Carrie gets a little bit more to work with, you know? It feels like Catwoman and Penguin, whenever they interact with Batman, their nuance delves from, and that's why I feel like the Bruce parts of it are specifically really weak, because whenever he's in the costume, he's interacting with these guys, you'll maybe get one thing that's interesting. When he's out of the suit, he's a little bit more interesting. When you get the scene with Max Schreck and he's kind of being Bruce Wayne businessman, you get a little insight into that society stuff. I like that. My favorite scene in the movie is the dance with Selena. I've got no notes, but I think that's perfect. I think that's like the entire fucking movie should have been that vibe of when Michelle Pfeiffer is like breaking down and Keaton's giving kind of a stoic but like sympathetic holding her and trying to like, I really like this is my, you know what, actually it's perfect metaphor, my entire problem with this movie. And I don't know if Steve will agree with me, but I think we might be on the same wavelength with this at least. You get this really cool, very interesting scene between Batman and Catwoman where they find out that they're Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, and they have this moment of tension, and they have this thing like, hey, let's go outside, let's talk about it. It's like, oh man, I really want to know what the fuck they're going to talk about. What is this conversation going to be? There's so much
Don't see it.
And a giant fucking duck blows out of the fucking room, and Danny DeVito comes out with a yellow duck, and they fucking love that yellow duck. They built that yellow duck with like a lot of money, so they put that fucker in every shot.
The yellow duck has really stood the test of time and connection to the Penguin. Like, to this movie's credit, that has like created an iconic vehicle for the Penguin, to the point where like, so there's a new show that's for kids right now. I've watched an episode or two with Leah, and it's called the Bat Wheels, and it's like all of Batman's vehicles have, you know, AI personalities and shit. And they accidentally gave AI personalities to the Gotham villain cars. And what is the fucking Penguin's car? It's the duck. It's still it's 2023. It's been 30 years, and we're still doing the fucking duck. That's insane. Yeah, you know, you make a really good point about that scene, Alfie, because not only does the duck just appear, right? But, like, before the duck appears, blows out the floor and shit, Bruce and Selina have already left. And we don't see what they talk about or what they do. The next time we see that, I'm pretty sure it's just Batman's flying through the sewers in the Batski, right?
meet again until they kill Max Shrek. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure. Like I might be missing a scene in my head or something. Maybe it's something to do with trying to stop the penguins, but I think those are concurrent. I think the next time we see Batman is, or Bruce for that matter, is just when he's flying through the sewers, or I guess when he stops the orphans from being, or the children from being kidnapped. But like, regardless, we get no further context on what their scene, what their moment of talking was, and it's really disappointing because like when they make that discovery about who the other is underneath the mask, kind of thing, they Selena just has that fucking killer line. Does this mean we have to start fighting? I'm like, holy shit, that's such a fucking good Catwoman line though. um, it's I don't know. It's yeah.
I guess what I'll counter here is say, I don't think any of what you're pointing out are script problems, and I don't think writing more scenes to fill in the gaps of what we don't see actually would address the movie. I think ultimately this is a visual opera. You're doing the work of putting together the ideas from having the experience of watching this kind of like ludicrous gothic ballet, and I think that's the experience and that's the movie. I think at the end of the day, right, you don't need to hear what Catwoman and Batman are saying to each other, because the idea of their doomed romance is the whole movie, and how they interact with each other in the limited scenes they get and how their relationship ultimately ends is kind of perfectly laid out if you're willing to just kind of like do the work and go along for the ride with the movie, and you don't need them to talk about it. I disagree with Alfie about this idea of like, but not that putting the work into it can be replaced by adding a few extra lines to just kind of break through the subtlety and explain what's going on. Because I think at the end of the day, like, when watching something like this shouldn't have to be a passive experience, and too many modern movies and modern blockbusters have that sensibility of, if I can just explain everything in dialogue, I don't have to be creative visually. And this is going in that opposite direction of, the dialogue doesn't build the mood. The dialogue is not the basic unit of the film that Tim Burton is interested in, and watching these characters interact in a way that is kind of grandiose and not even really like comic booky. I think more so than that is that it's just kind of like old school classic pulpy, where everything is just kind of dialed up to 11 and everyone is kind of meeting in these convenient scenarios and everything's kind of laid out on the table in its most open, raw, and theatrical form. I think that's a quintessentially film sort of experience, and that's what makes the movie so good and so entertaining, is that it is ludicrous, but it's got like this beating heart underneath it of what these three characters' relationships are. And a lot of the things that we can talk about with Penguin and Bruce and Catwoman, we can still do the work and talk about them thematically and coherently without the need to like throw in extra lines of dialogue to explain their motivations. I think the movie does a really good job of just laying it out in the most obvious terms. It is, at the end of the day, a sort of visual experience, and that's where it works best. Where Catwoman's best scene in the movie, in my opinion, is one where she doesn't have any dialogue. It's when she's freaking out in the apartment, and when she's spray painting all of her stuff black, and you're getting visually the idea of like her going from the 60s suburban Americana to a more sort of traditional Tim Burton character who is an outcast, and problematizing that idea of like, even if you feel like you belong in this world, the world is set up in a way where a lot of people just don't belong, or that belonging is an illusion, and she's kind of breaking with that finally. And I don't think you need any dialogue there. And a lot of the dialogue that is there, that's cheesy and one-liners and stuff, I think is actually just fun and adds to the atmosphere. And I don't think you don't need to change the rhythm of the movie in order to better explain the plot, because if the movie has no rhythm, then it's just not a good movie. And this, at the end of the day, I think is very fluid and rhythmic, and the visuals and the limited dialogue is what's kind of helping it get there. I don't think anyone would remember Batman Returns or have a critical reevaluation of it if it was any more overwritten than it is, because I think what's iconic about it is that it's so balls to the wall and visually distinct.
I disagree with a lot of that, but I think the key that you brought up, which I think was a really good point, is that idea of how much are you willing to go with it, you know? And like how much of what it's giving you in those scenes, which are really good, like the Catwoman, like the house scene. I agree. I think that's a fantastic visual scene. How much of that justifies then wanting to invest and deal with the rest of the thing and getting that? My thing is, again, it's not so much that I don't want this to be, because we talk about this all the time, Steve. Like, I think you can know that I share similar views with you like that of when you just beat the audience over the head with just explaining your messaging and throwing all kinds of nuance and stuff out the window. I'm not looking for that in the slightest. I'm looking for something that I'm not personally getting. Something that just, if it's a mismatch of sensibilities between me and Barton, because I have this with some of his films. It stands out a little bit more with his Batman movies, simply because I'm a big Batman nerd, so I spend way too much time thinking about these characters, so it's a little bit more jarring to me right then if I'm watching something like Corpse Bride. But I generally butt up heads against a little bit with Barton, and as a visual storyteller myself and doing my kind of things, I think he's not infallible in that aspect, and I do think he can be trying to achieve something and just fall short of that at a craft level, and everyone does. No one is personally my favorite writers and artists and filmmakers. It's like, no one's going to throw out a banger at every single frame. That's just impossible. It's almost better when they don't, because then the failures can be more interesting. My issue more so is I think the time we spent on ideas that we do chose to speak out loud discredit me willing to believe that those same filmmakers who choose to spend the time on I'd like to fill her gap or fucking eat floor high in fiber are also having this extremely nuanced, subtle view of Bruce Wayne's dilemma between him and his shadow self. You know, I think I don't think they earn me given that much leeway, and that can just, again, purely speaking from my own personal experience and the fact that I don't particularly care for Keaton's performance even just in a vacuum, but I think this movie specifically, out of all the other times he's shown up, could have swayed me, because when he does get to do some stuff with Pfeiffer, when he does get to bounce off DeVito, when he does get to work with Christopher Walken, there's good stuff there. It's just so few and far between, and so much other time is spent on Penguin shenanigans or Catwoman bed scene, and that's allowed to stay. That's iconic, right? That fucking awakened how many fucking BDSM fetishes in the world. The fact that Michelle Pfeiffer actually put a real bird in her mouth is insane, so good for her. But because we're choosing to spend so much time with this, we're choosing to have a mayoral subplot, we're choosing to have, which again, we throw that in as a nod to the 60s show, and when we tie it into Penguin's plot of like blowing up babies, which I keep throwing out these one-liners just because they stick in my head as like, how did this fucking get approved? Is the sexes are equal, we will blow them up and they will be united in the something about their genitals, right? And it's the adrenaline zones blown sky high. I'm like, fucking hell, man! Like, this is really kind of crazy that we're putting this in a book.
I think I think that's a really good point. Sorry to cut you off, but I think that's a really good point of like why Schumacher got licensed to do what he did, right? Or got like direction to do what he did, because this movie pissed a lot of people off, and was like way too far for what people were willing to accept at the time. And I think you'd probably have equal levels of pushback now, with just the way that
never got away with it now. Jesus Christ, can you imagine?
Yeah, like there's
not even close.
There's a very like anti-sexualizing of fictional characters now kind of wave going on, and I don't get it, but it just kind of is what it is. And it's like, you'd have people hated it in the 90s, they'd hate it today. Maybe you could have gotten away with that in like the early 2010s or something, but shit, man. It's just like really off-putting to people, so it kind of like leaves you in this other place of like, who the fuck is this movie for?
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Is like when the movie came out, Burton got in complete creative control over this one because Batman '89 did so well. But the big sort of like outlying factor was that Batman '89 didn't actually plan for having like a big merchandising campaign because they didn't think they were going to need it. And then when Batman '89 merchandise was just selling out like crazy and they made hundreds of millions of dollars, they suddenly realized that like, oh, Tim Burton knows what he's doing. Let him do whatever he wants with Batman Returns, because regardless of how Batman Returns turns out, we can just like sell a bunch of Batman Returns toys. And then Tim Burton makes the most Tim Burton movie of all time, and it scares a bunch of kids. It scared me as a kid. I didn't watch this movie until I was considerably older because I was just terrified of this fucking movie. And it pissed off a lot of parents and it pissed off a lot of marketers because you couldn't sell Danny DeVito Penguin in a Happy Meal. It just doesn't work. And so when that happened, they're like, yeah, Burton, you're fired. And at that point, Keaton leaves too, and that's where you get Joel Schumacher. And so like they go the entire opposite direction because they just couldn't get away with making this movie even in 1992 because everyone was so up in arms about it. But you asked the question of like, who's this movie for? And interestingly, over like the last 5 to 10 years or so, this movie's had like a real resurgence. There have been lots and lots of people coming out of the woodwork talking about like, did we like secretly sleep on Batman Returns being secretly brilliant? There's a critic I follow for a few years named Priscilla Page who wrote like this really big several thousand word essay on her Patreon about like how all of the stuff that this movie goes into is extremely artistic and operatic and powerful, and it's something that people just didn't get at the time. There were a lot of other like film critics and film textbooks and stuff that have come out over the recent years. A critic I know named Darren Mooney, who's written books about Christopher Nolan, has talked about like how this movie has kind of went under the radar and is dealing with a lot of issues that you just don't see in movies anymore, or superhero movies for that matter. And this is like sort of a textbook case of like, you give it time and a movie will be able to find its audience. I think you do have like these two polar opposite reactions when something gets a critical reevaluation. You have the movie didn't do well initially, and then 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, you have the people that say maybe we were unfairly harsh to it and that there's something underneath the surface, like you did with this movie, or like with Jennifer's Body, or even fucking Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane wasn't critically praised on arrival. It wasn't until the 50s and 60s when someone else made the argument that Citizen Kane might be the greatest movie of all time that people started thinking that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got people who refuse to change their mind after 10 years, where like a movie will have come out 10 years ago and then they'll still be talking about like how everyone who didn't like that movie 10 years ago was always fucking wrong, and they don't like allow it to evolve. Batman Returns is one of those cases where like no one was ready for what the fuck this movie was going to be in the 90s. But you start moving the clock forward and you look at the evolution of superhero movies and you look at like the quality of the early 2000s, where you had everything from Sam Raimi doing Spider-Man to Halle Berry Catwoman. And then you have the quality jump now where you have the slow and painful deterioration of the MCU, and you stack Batman Returns against it, and suddenly you're like, what did we do to go from one of the most visually stunning movies of all time in Batman Returns to like people standing on concrete at an empty airport, right? Like the disconnect there is massive. And in allowing yourself to go back and say, hey, maybe this wasn't for me, or this is not for my sensibilities, or maybe it just kind of missed the mark 20, 30 years ago, let's kind of just approach it with fresh eyes and say, even if this is not for me, can we start like diving in here and seeing what this person was trying to do? And on the level of appreciating the craft, you can start to change your own mind by falling in love with what's going on. That's kind of how I always approach these sorts of things, where I don't feel like it's ever a question of like, is it a good adaptation or a bad adaptation? Is it to my taste or is it not to my taste? Because for me, at the end of the day, the thing that's interesting about art is that it can make you care about shit you haven't cared about in your entire life, okay? I don't fucking like fantasy. I think fantasy is boring as shit, but I love Game of Thrones. And it's because I can buy into that world because the quality is there. And there's a sort of similar experience with Batman Returns where, like, as a kid, this movie terrified me. As a teenager, I thought it was fucking awful. Going into my early 20s, I'm like, I understand what Tim Burton's going for, but it's just not for me. And the older I get, the more I'm just like, no, if you just disconnect yourself from all your preconceived notions and just kind of let yourself watch this as an experience, can it take you over? And it totally can. I feel like it really does for me, at least.
I mean, I'd agree with you that it is one of the most visually stunning, and, like, you know, there's no mistaking who fucking made this movie. The visuals and the way that it works with the music cues from Danny Elfman, just fucking rock your socks. And I would much rather watch, like, the fucking opening sequence with Pee Wee Herman throwing a baby into the fucking sewers a billion times over than the, like, Civil War airport fight, right? Like, it's just so much more, it's just got so much more gravitas and, like flavor to it, you know? So I definitely agree that the visualizations in this are utterly fantastic. And again, like, it gets to some of that really kooky comic book shit that's just fun. The fetishization of the Batmobile, particularly of the Burton Batmobile, is so hard, and I think it's because of, like, more so this movie. Like, when you look at Batman 89, the Batmobile doesn't really do much. It like has guns come up at one point. You know, it's not like all that impressive. It's this movie where it kind of started a trend where Batman movies have to have a sequence with the Batmobile doing something impossible for a car to do. So, like, this has a thing where he punches the button and the sides pop off and the wheels go in and it gets all narrow so it can go through the alley.
Like a literal bat pod.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that becomes a thing. And then, you know, Schumacher has it where it can drive up the wall. And, God, I forget what the fuck it is in Batman and Robin, but that's got one.
It does like a jump off a Statue of Liberty type thing.
Yeah, it's got, like, these crazy things. Batman Begins has that whole sequence where he's running away and he's jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Yeah, and then Dark Knight has it where like it turns into the motorcycle and shit. So there's a lot of, like, you know, and of course fucking Batman vs Superman has that whole sequence that distracts the shit out of you.
Murders indiscriminately.
Okay, don't start it. Don't start it, because I will come back to the fact that he lights a dude on fire.
No. He murders the fuck out of people in this movie too. But, like, in Batman vs Superman, he's got fucking machine guns just mowing people down, driving through their corpses.
Again, like, I still think Batman Returns might have the higher body count of just the shit that he does. Like, I think the comparison that I heard years ago and really has stuck with me, and I don't think it's very arguable, is the fact that, like, Burton characterizes Batman like an Indiana Jones or like just a action hero for film, where you just go around, you kind of kill indiscriminately, and there's, like, funny little gags. James Bond has this. I remember an author years ago described the experience of being a kid watching James Bond movies, and James Bond would kill a bad guy and say a thing, and all the dads in the theater would laugh. They'll print anything these days, as he throws a guy onto a fucking printing press. And like, but that mentality, that, like, action movie kind of vibe is in this. He's got the bomb. He comes across the big strong dude. This is gonna be the big fight. Oh, look down. Oh, you got a fucking bomb on you. Haha, I'm gonna throw you over my shoulder and you're gonna die. And it's like, it's one-to-one with the same vibe as Indiana Jones comes around the corner and there's the guy with the sword and he does all the cool sequence, and then Indiana Jones just pulls out his gun and shoots him. Like, it's that exact same kind of attitude, and that's the way Burton approaches it. And again, Batman's relationship with killing on film has never been great, and I'm not really gonna blame Burton for that, wholeheartedly. But I think he's a major contributor to just the fact that superheroes on film murder the shit out of everybody, and it's bothersome.
One thing I like about the action thing specifically to bring up is, like, you're very right, Ian, but even to the extent of, like, how your Indiana Jones types.
Alfie, you've cut out in the middle of your point.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said you're Indiana Jones.
Okay, yeah. Your Indiana Jones types aren't particularly good at anything. He and Batman probably gets on his ass the most out of any Batman I've ever seen in my life. He gets his ass kicked constantly. He is always full. And, like, there's a certain appeal to that, because Burton definitely imagines Batman as just a guy in an armored suit with some gadgets. There's no training. There's no detective work. There's no, like, any kind of specialized thing that separates it. And that's, again, I don't want to get like, oh, it's not my Batman. I've made my peace with that a long time ago. This is Tim Burton's Batman. It's his take for what it is. I just think, from a visual standpoint, it's interesting to talk about, because it very much is, Ian. It's Indiana Jones fight scenes in a bat suit, except even less competent and more, like, Indiana Jones will always have, like, the thing where he'll get tripped up and he has to kind of improv his way to victory and stuff. It's a little bit more exciting. Tim Burton's never really been interested in action, so there's there's no action set pieces in this film. Action happens, but there's nothing that's really meant to be showing you, wow, Batman's so fucking cool. And it's like, the closest you get is, like, the scene with the bomb in the guy's pants, and that's not really, like, cool. It's more just kind of like, he tricked him, he got this thing kind of thing. So Batman runs away a lot in this as well. The Ice Princess dies. Catwoman and Penguin are right there. You've seen them commit a murder, Batman, and he flees the scene. He runs away. And he does the same thing in Batman 89. The Joker's right there. Runs away. The same thing in this. Like, Batman loves running away from his bad guys in this way. It's kind of... Can you imagine how much shit a modern comic would get if Batman ran away from a villain? Like, it would be insane. But again, it's all built into that type of action model, that type of Batman as a figure like this, who kind of just stumbles upon crimes and then flails his way until they get solved. And I'm being, like, disparaging about that, but that's not, like, a flaw of the movie doesn't care about that. It's not a thing. I just think it's interesting to talk about, with specifically how Tim Burton likes to view his protagonists. And knowing some of the behind the scenes stuff of this film, I would not be surprised if a lot of these Batman is having a fight in the street with the Red Circus Gang sequences don't just come from I forget his name, the producer who wanted the giant spider in Superman Lives. Like, I think that guy, he's all about the street fights. That he wanted a Superman to fight ninjas in the Tim Burton Superman script, so that was a sequence that he put in there. So I would not be surprised if all of these fight scenes were not Tim Burton wanting to do any of them, but it was just, we gotta have Batman punch a guy and blow him up. That'll make him know that he's from the streets. Michael Keaton's got the eye of a killer. So, like, I would not be shocked if those were all studio notes.
I mean, maybe.
Part of what's interesting about that is we didn't really have, like, a visualization for superpowers quite yet, because, like, you had Superman, but Superman's powers were much more encompassing and more, like, akin to, like, shitty sci-fi effects, right? Like,
Yeah.
we weren't very, even in as good as Superman and Superman 2 can be, they are not, like, visual effects spectacles, even by 1970s standards.
I was watching Superman versus Zod fight from Superman 2 on repeat.
Man. That's That is a thing that happens on film, that's for sure. But you have Batman in the mold of the Indiana Jones, James Bond types because you have like a rich tradition of adventure heroes on film to kind of pull from. So like it's really easy to just kind of cast Batman into that mold and just kind of do the palette swap. And then over the years, you start getting better technology or more money to start doing characters that demand more complicated effects work. That's part of why Spider-Man, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, is so like visually stunning. Is getting getting Spider-Man to web swing through New York City is just a feat in and of itself. And if the movie had no action sequences whatsoever and just that alone would have been the fucking selling point at that point in time. And then over the course of years, you start getting better and better CGI technology and stuff, and like you start outsourcing the need to like practically create these things and make them visually distinct to just the ease of being able to do them, and they start getting dwindled down. The thing about 89 Returns that's really interesting is you have Batman in the action movie mold of someone like an Indiana Jones, but you also don't quite yet have the gothic aesthetic of Batman on film yet, and really I don't think you ever really do after this either. The world that Burton crafts for this invents a lot of like the iconography and symbolism of Batman that even goes into the comics. Batman didn't have a grapple gun before Batman 89. Batman
just a
didn't
batarang
have,
with a rope, right?
yeah, it was just a batarang with a rope. Batman didn't have like the sexy Batmobile the way Burton designed it before Batman 89. You just had sports cars with like spoilers and stuff. But this idea of like this elongated superhuman vehicle is not
like the
something that
jet.
exists.
Well, no, because I disagree with that. I disagree with that pretty hard because, like, I think Burton, you might get the argument of he put a lot of those elements together, but I think each of those individual things you saw either in the show beforehand or in the comics to different degrees.
Well, here's what the Batmobile was for a long time. The Batmobile for a long time was just a car that had like either a bat logo or like a couple gadgets like a turbine. In the original Detective Comics run in the 1940s, it was just a red like Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman drove around on it, and like it was nothing special. It was just Batman's car, and it was a regular car.
No, I
And
agree.
then
But
over
like,
time,
even if you look back to like the '60s show, it's pretty high tech
It's just a
gadget. No, it is not just a car.
They full that thing with everything.
It's got everything, but I mean, like visually as a design, it's just a car.
No,
because
because it's got like the separate capsules. It's got the jet engine in the back.
Yeah, it's the Aston Martin.
No, it's more than that because it's like so customized.
But yeah, it's James Bond's Goldfinger Aston Martin.
No,
it's a really sexy car that has a bunch of spy gadgets.
No,
it's the Aston Martin.
Disagree.
What do you mean? That's literally what it was. It was the Aston Martin.
No, because it's got like the pods and stuff. It's so like customized and it's like got the gadget display on the thing. It doesn't just blend in. You see it on the street. You know what it is. People still replicate it to this day.
No, I know, but it like what Burton's idea of stylizing the Batmobile and the '60s stylized Batmobile are two different worlds. Is all I'm saying.
I'd agree to a certain point, but again, I think that Burton, maybe you could give the credit of like bringing a lot of the elements together, but like the comics had been doing some pretty fucking wacky Batmobiles up until that point too.
All I'm saying is a lot of what we think of with Batman iconography is gelled out of Burton's visualization for them because they didn't exist in this form before. A lot of the stuff that we associate with Batman in comics didn't even come from the comics necessarily. That's not where Alfred came from. That's not where the Batcave came from. So you get things in Batman 89 and Batman Returns that represent a real moving forward of visualizing Batman in things. Batman's costume post Nightfall comes from Keaton's Batman because he's the full black suit with the yellow oval that he gets in Turok. Effectively, all I'm saying is like the Batmobile as it shows up in 89 and Returns, and what you get later with stuff like the Tumbler and even the Batman versus Superman Batmobile, that idea of like making Batman's car like a thing that just defies physics and comes from a different universe in a way is something Tim Burton went way more hardcore on than anyone before him did.
What I think is interesting, Steve, unless Ian's got a response to that.
I just think he's wrong, but okay.
So we kind of move away from the Batmobile there, but what I think is cool, because you're saying, like, I do think obviously it influenced some things, it was huge, but what I always find really funny are the things that, like, no one stuck with. Like, not a single person in planet Earth likes this take on Jim Gordon. Not a single, even like he is, even the '60s show gave him something to fucking do. I made a gag out of how ineffective he is. Right? It's just, I feel so bad for this fucker. He comes in, he's like, "You have saved the city, Batman." He's like, "We'll see." It's like, Jesus, like, fucking, that's supposed to be your bro. He's supposed to be your friend. He's trying to be so nice. He's more of a fucking dickhead to Gordon than he is to Penguin. Like, he's way fucking meaner to Penguin. He's like, "Fuck you, Gordon. You didn't run for mayor. Fuck you." So that stuff like that I think is really funny. I think it's really funny that we immediately go away from Vicky Vale, and these movies consistently just have Bruce get with the most attractive woman known to man, and then the next film he's just like, that fucked up, that went bad. It's like, I just really love that. I think it's really funny that Michael Keaton and fucking Val Kilmer and George Clooney, they have like supreme game while they're on screen, and then when they're off screen, they're like, you fucking came early or some shit, I'm leaving you." Like, it's just like really, really fucking funny, and that consistently with these things. What is something else that's just in this movie that just is specifically unique to the butt? Like, the Penguin tape, people have taken run with. People have taken the Danny V, even if it's just a look.
Yeah, like the mutated,
taken
like the flipper fingers levels of
so
that.
that's
Yeah.
stuck. Catwoman has tried to migrate, but we've never really gone all the way with it. With no one has done. Yeah.
She has cat powers now, which is really weird.
Oh, really? She's got cat powers again in the modern comics? That's funny.
So she in so after Gotham War wrapped up, Catwoman was like presumed dead when like the meteor that Vandal Savage was trying to get hit Earth, and Vandal Savage just disappeared.
I love comic books.
I know, it fucking sucks. Vandal Savage presumably disappeared, and so did Catwoman, but at the end you get like a little teaser. They're like, "Oh no, she's still alive." In the next issue of Catwoman, she leaves Gotham and goes somewhere else, and she's got like these 9 scars on her back, and then she dies at the end of the issue and comes back to life, and one of the scars goes away. So like she's got like the 9 lives now.
Okay. Yeah, I still think that's really dumb. And, you know, like, okay, so this isn't just Burton specific. I think it starts with this, because, like, more or less, the take he has for Joker with Jack Nicholson, that's a take that kind of, like, existed to different levels in the comics, and has kind of come and gone since. That one's pretty standard. That maybe not. Maybe the, like, I killed your parents, created you, and then you created me. That part really is not stuck around, and thank the fuck God. But, like, Catwoman being revived by cats and having cat powers, Penguin being, like, this little mutated freak, later on in the franchise, having, fucking Riddler has mind control powers, and Bane is just a skinny guy that gets really, really buff when he takes his venom, and then gets really, really skinny again when he's off of it. All of these are, like, things that, like, I think I'm gonna blame Burton for starting this trend of just making shit up, and then people just kind of expect that now because it was just provided to such a wide audience. I will never forget having conversations with a friend in, like, the lead up to Dark Knight Rises, waiting to see who would be announced as the villain and stuff, and being like, man, I really hope it's Riddler, and him just going, well, how would they do the mind control thing? And I'm like, it doesn't fucking happen. Stop it. And Catwoman said the same thing. I'm like, you know, maybe they do Catwoman. Well, how would they do the cat powers? Shut the fuck up. It didn't happen that way. It's dumb.
Has anything else, and you can probably be the one to answer this, Steve, has anything else done Max Shrek and his fucking son, who decides he must also have a Christopher Walken
That is the
accent?
best thing about this movie.
That's the greatest thing anyone's ever done.
That is still my
So
favorite
fucking
thing
good.
about this fucking
I
movie.
love that he just shows up and he's like, Dad.
Dead.
Dad, what are we gonna do about Batman?
Really, like, this
My
fucking
son.
movie would be so much better if he just had more lines. Like, that's
You know what's
the
so funny
real
about
problem with this.
Ian?
What?
Is he was apparently a fucking big get for this film.
Really?
They were like, this fucking guy's playing the son of Max Shrek in Batman 2. Like, as they fucking promoted it, they were like, he was like, I don't know what his name is or Hootie Bibby. He was like a fucking the guy of the time. And the Ice Princess as well was like a fucking name. I was like, oh my god, the fucking Ice Princess. And it just tells you how fucking bad we are in all the fucking decades of material for Rupert Ford, you could fucking call this guy, right? You could fucking give him any number of fucking names. Carmine Falcone if you wanted to be fucking cheeky, right? But like, no. Max Shrek, Christopher Walken, he's here and he's got a son, and why he doesn't think to fucking make his son run for mayor, I don't know. But we're just gonna fucking walk
Because
past it.
Penguin's got the hotness going for him right now. That's what it is.
I mean, he does, but then he fucking bites a dude's nose off, and he's still like, this has no potential failing.
Okay, wait, hold on. I want to back up, and I want to talk about that scene real quick, because this is like on the level of like Burton's like visualizations and style just oozes off this movie. But then like you think about it for 10 seconds and it's really fucking stupid. Okay, so Max Shrek goes up to the Penguin's like little hideaway in town in Gotham, where he's like hiding his gang and ready to send them off on missions, and he's got his collection of the baby footprints of Gotham's firstborn sons that he's gonna steal away in the night for his own machinations. And Max is like, Oswald, come downstairs. There's something I want to show you. It's a surprise. And it's like such just like a shady, seedy, like the fucking paint's coming off the walls. You can see like the slat boards that are exposed. It's just gross, and like everything's brown. It smells like the color brown. And then they go downstairs and it's like this beautiful white office space with all these like cubicles and desks and like this whole campaign area set up. And it's just like, what the fuck? This is the same building? These are separated by one flight of fucking stairs? How did Max do all of this renovation without Penguin noticing?
Don't underestimate the power of interior design.
And again, it's like, it's to Burton's credit, like you see the Penguin in that area and it's got like a good vibe to it. It's creepy. It like works with his characterization. And then you go downstairs and it's like, it's really unnerving and weird. But then you just think about it for 10 seconds, like, how's this the same fucking building though? That doesn't make sense.
Because it looks cool.
Yeah.
That's why. That's the answer.
Yep. And that's kind of that's kind of the problem, is like, I want to give it some credit for some of these like deeper ideas, and I think there are arguments for it, but it's just I get so distracted by shit where I'm like, but that's dumb. And that's
why I say I feel like you do have to kind of let go of some of those preconceived notions about like whether or not something makes sense, and just kind of accept the absurdity is part of the story.
Okay, that's the argument I'm going to use from you from now on for every single bad decision ever made in a movie.
Well, you have to make it an argument, right? And I think there is an argument here that this is kind of like a fairy tale, a dark, twisted fairy tale of these larger-than-life characters, and they're engaging with each other in absurd ways, and that's part of the appeal, is that it's in this hyper-stylized world with these extremely over-the-top characters who are externalizing a lot of really fucked-up psychology at each other all the time, and that's kind of why it works, is because it's playing on those sorts of tropes.
Okay.
To answer your question, Alfie, I don't think Max Shrek shows up anywhere in the comics. He was supposed to be in Batman the Animated Series, and that for whatever reason did not end up happening, and they replaced him with a different like nameless thug. But the name comes from the guy who originally played Nosferatu, because Tim Burton's a huge old school movie fan, and Nosferatu is like classic early German expressionism, which is the style he uses for most of his movies. So he wanted to homage that with Christopher Walken.
He wanted to homage that by making the guy a smug bag.
Now you've pissed me off, Steve. Because now I'm all like, well, shit, man. Why don't you just do Christopher Walken Man-Bat?
Why wasn't Christopher Walken Dracula?
Yeah, why don't we do fucking Man-Bat fucking versus... Alright, that's funny though. I didn't know that makes complete sense now. The Nosferatu connection's really funny. Just interesting choice. Again, dude gets a lot of fucking time on screen. And I think you probably could have satisfied more people if you just combined him with the Penguin and just had Penguin live that double life like Bruce Wayne does, where he has the societal side and then he has the fucking underbelly side where he's like a freak in his cave. Like, they try to do that by splitting them into two different characters. I think you could have got more out of it if you just had them be fucking... The owner of this fucking copper pot industries is, and here's I'm just fucking rewriting the movie, but bear with me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like at a certain point, though, right? Like, yeah, it is just kind of rewriting the movie because the idea that he doesn't fit in is the point of the movie.
It is, but like again, you could go all day with that, but I think if I was in a fucking conversation with Tim Burton, I would have brought that up as a possibility that maybe this could have been a little bit more interesting, but maybe not. Maybe it would fail, but. Again, creative, the first thing I do when I see something that I don't like with is like, well, here's how I do it, you know, so bear with me on that.
I like Max Shrek's suits. He's got those, like, really broad pinstripe suits.
He's very well fitted for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got one question, since Steve knows all the background about this movie that Haley and I were sitting there picking our brains about. The penguins. I'm assuming, like, the big group shots of them, those are all actual penguins. The close-ups are more than likely, like, animatronics. But when they're fucking pallbearing him to the water, are those real penguins or those animatronics? Are those, like, little people in costumes? Do you know?
A lot of the penguins in the movie are, yeah, like you said, they're sort of a mix between like real emperor penguins that they use for a lot of the cold shots, and then the army of penguins that you see are mostly puppets. So
okay, I
like,
thought those were all real penguins, because it's just like, yeah, you just put the fucking things on their back and let them run around on camera. It seems like it'd fucking work. So I'm a little surprised those are puppets.
So the thing about the penguins, surprisingly, the penguin stuff is actually really, really complicated because
animals on film is always really hard.
Oh yeah. So Danny DeVito's costume on its own was extremely complicated and took several hours to put on. And like if you stayed through the credits, there's a whole like special credit for the people that get the penguin costume on Danny DeVito because it's so fucking insane. And so that wasn't something that you could like replicate with an army of extras or anything to get the pallbearer scene. So what you had is you had like some actual penguins for like the larger crowd shots, but then you had like a mix of CG for some parts of it.
CG in this era? That's crazy to me.
Yeah, you had CG and you had puppets, specially designed puppets that were being used to kind of like move them around. You couldn't essentially like risk putting another actor through the makeup process for what would amount to a couple days worth of filming, given how hard it was to get Danny DeVito to do it. So they just did it with like puppets and miniatures and stuff.
Okay, it's interesting. I don't know. I was just sitting there and like, they're very convincing puppets. At different points, then they look really good. They did a good job with the puppet penguins.
It's interesting with the penguin stuff is because they filmed a lot of this when it was like really really hot outside because they're all in sets anyway. They don't get to feel it, and because they had to, when they did have live penguins, they have to be really fucking cold temperatures to fucking film the scenes and stuff. So they'll fucking walk in from a hot blazing day and their fucking breath just turns cold for the rest of the fucking shoot. It's really, really fucking funny. Like, especially, I have to imagine now, probably the most comfortable set to wear that fucking Batman suit in. Ah, I imagine that probably felt really nice and cool and fucking let me be in the ice scenes more because those fuckers get hot. So I imagine Keaton actually probably was like, "Can I film more in this fucking like dilapidated fucking Saka's place? Because this is like freezing and like I'm sweating my balls off in this fucking costume."
It was probably the most satisfying day on set when he literally tears his cowl off.
Yeah,
at
when
the
he
end.
God,
rips
that
off.
looks so fucking bad. I hate that shot so much.
So funny. I don't know why they didn't just pull it off, you know? I don't know why he did, because those shits do detach. It does detach from the bodysuit.
Isn't it linked to the cape though?
They have some ones, right, that are linked to the capes, because they, like, glue down the scallops. But for, like, hero shots, they do have a separate suit that... So they could have easily made a hood detached suit. Obviously, Barton just wanted to fucking rip it, right? And keep... He rips it a very specific way. So that had to have been, like, a pre-designed ripped... I'm so sorry if I'm getting into fucking
No, you're
nerd shit
fine.
with this.
Because, like, it's such a weird thing. It just looks so bad. Like, it's the fact that you can see how thick the rubber is, and it just makes, like, all of the muscle and the rest of the suit just look really, like, cheap to me.
Oh, because it's a fucking latex cowl, and when you rip those things, they're extremely fragile. If you put on a Batman cowl, you never want to pull it down from the mouth area, because that's where it's the weakest and will tear and rip. But when they rip, they don't rip in those very aesthetic. It still creates almost like a neck guard for Michael Keaton when he does it, so that had to have been specifically pre-ripped, so that when it ripped for the shot, it would tear to leave Michael Keaton, because it's not like uneven either. It's like it's all very smooth and around it. So it's got like tear points and shit. But I just find that really interesting. Of like they went through a lot of effort to get that specific look, and they cut away so you get a shot of when he's not got the eye makeup on, because they wanted to have like the eye makeup just disappears in the barn thing. So all of that stuff is really interesting. I'm just like, you could have still done a dramatic scene where he just takes it off, but again, ripping it is cooler, I guess. But you also had a fucking explosion prior. It could have been damaged or whatever. But I don't know. Interesting choice. I think that's definitely one of the things that have been the most iconic, because you don't get a lot of Bruce taking the cowl off scenes in these movies, especially like in action, as when normally he's in the cave and shit, but when he's like in the middle of doing Batman shit, it's very, very... I can't think of anything else where he takes the cowl off. I think this is the only one where he's in the middle of a fucking like public setting, I guess, and he decides to take the fucking cowl off.
Bruce
there is an
Wayne,
idea there too. Like,
why are you dressed as Batman?
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. I think there is an idea there, because you're right. It is a very specific thing where like they cut away, he doesn't have the eyeliner anymore, and then he takes the mask off. And I think they are trying like really intentionally to have this moment where Bruce Wayne dramatically rips off the Batman mask to reveal his real face, and it kind of bridges that duality theme the whole movie has been about, of like reconciling his two halves, and like the sort of Hulk, that's my secret cap, I'm always angry moment of the movie is it's not really a thing that he's fighting to reconcile. He's already kind of done it, and that's why he works, and that's why he's Batman. And so he rips off his Batman cowl and shows his face as Bruce Wayne, but there's not much of a difference there anymore, because that idea is kind of united. And then you have Christopher Walken have that really funny line where he's like, Bruce Wayne, why are you dressed as Batman? And it does kind of speak to the whole larger theme of the movie, which is Batman, Catwoman, and Penguin are all ultimately freaks, and they are all outcasts of the society. And on some level, they can try to fit in or force themselves to fit in, whether or not it makes them happy. But the world that they inhabit doesn't ever really truly see them. So is it worth it for them to try and fight to do that? Because that's Catwoman's whole struggle, is like at the end of the day, she's never going to be accepted. That's why it doesn't work for her, and that's why she's unhappy. And to kind of like put a fine-tooth home on that point, at the end, he just rips his face off in front of Max Schreck, the sort of ultimate symbol of the corruption of Gotham. And Max Schreck is so oblivious that he can't even put the two and two together, that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So there is that sort of tragedy at the end of like, Selina is the one who's pissed that Max doesn't understand that Bruce Wayne is Batman, because she's wrestling with the idea that people don't accept us as who we are. But that doesn't bother Bruce Wayne at all. He doesn't give a shit, because he's already there.
One thing I do like, and Stevie was a very intelligent, very well thought point as usual, but I like the costume in this movie. I like that. I think the Batman Returns suit is the best a all-black Batman suit has ever looked. I think this is the one where it's like, okay, it's got the gold bow, it's got the gold logo. It's still not my preference, but for a Tim Burton universe version of Batman, that the cowl looks really good on Keaton. Like, it's very fucking. Compare it to the first 89 cowl, it's like fucking night and day. They got funny thing is, the guy who who sculpted the cowl for Keaton and the cowl for Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, they were so impressed by his thing, he stayed on and did a lot of other Batman movies, and then he developed Ironhead Studios, who then went on to develop the Ben Affleck Batman suit. And get the comic book Batman suit. And he's spoken previously, it was like the moment he got on this film, the thing he kept saying is like, oh man, why don't we do it like the books? Why don't we do it like the books? And everyone just said, no. So when he finally, like 30 years later, got to do a Batman that kind of looked like the books. And I think that's a really cool kind of success story. And that's Jose Fernandez is the sculptor behind that. And he's the one who... Go ahead.
I was going to say, he really got his wish because the Ben Affleck suit in that is the best Batman costume on film.
The funny thing with that as well is because of this movie, like Steve was saying, whether the cowl is not only is it very thick in the neck, it's like locked in to the emblem and the cape, so it gets that nice cape over the shoulders look, but it's just Keaton has to do the bat turn. He was very pissed that he couldn't turn his head, so all the way until BVS, Nolan obviously had split the cowl into two pieces, and Patterson does that as well. But in BVS specifically, is the same urethane cowl that they use all the way back from Burton. But what they designed to make you turn his head is, if you remember in the BVS cowl, it's got those big fucking neck muscles where you can see kind of like the Combat Jim Lee style thing. Those are actually air pockets. Those aren't filled. Those are like filled with air, and there's like a mechanism in the head that like locks in almost like a helmet. And because of the tension points between it being locked to the suit and locked to the head, and it's got those fucking neck muscle air pockets, you can turn your head. It's a nice little bit of fucking engineering that took all those years, and maybe if we fucking... But because those guys are the only ones who've done it, when they didn't bring them back for Justice League, Ben Affleck couldn't turn his head anymore because they had to get a new cowl, and it's been that way ever since because they only got those guys to do BVS and they've never brought them back.
Well, didn't they not credit them in BVS? Wasn't that like a big point of controversy?
That's why they didn't give them the credit for it, and they were like, dude, we're not fucking coming back because you fucked us over with this, and we did the suit that you got praised for, you didn't credit us. And so, yeah, they didn't return for BVS. Justice League.
That's crazy.
That's so depressing because the suit in BVS is just so fucking good. It's perfect.
Yeah. If only the rest of the movie was like anywhere near as good.
Yeah. yeah. I mean, ignore the movie around the costume, but the costume is perfect.
The movie I hear is better if you watch Excalibur from 1981.
Yeah, it's almost like they were influenced.
All right. Well, I think we've talked a lot about Batman Returns. We haven't really talked much about the fact that it's set at Christmas, but I do like that as a decision. It does give it a really cool vibe. Batman in the snow does always hit really well. So that's just another like cool little feather in the cap to the visualizations of this film.
If we're gonna wrap up, it came out in fucking June.
That scene at the end where he goes to get the cat out of the alley and it's just in the snow, and Alfred's like, "Merry Christmas, Master Bruce." I like that a lot.
I love it.
I like that. If we are gonna wrap up here, though, I do have one final question, just because it's on my mind, and I'm curious to see what your two responses is. Because today, where we're recording this, the second sequel comic to the 89 universe just dropped, the first issue of it, which has like the Barton version of Scarecrow and Harley Quinn in it. So because of that like idea, and like the idea that everyone kind of has and Schumacher done, from this last rewatch with your two opinions, would you have liked to see the timeline where Barton got to make Batman 3 and they were just like, yeah, this was fine, make another one? Or would you like a more restrained version of that, but still keep Burton? Or were you like, nah, it was good for him to leave? He said all he needed to say here.
I think it was good that Burton left. It's kind of funny because we keep talking about Burton left, but he did stay on to some degree or other as executive producer for the other films. I'm never sure how much of that was just not wanting to make it look like they've completely abandoned the creative direction.
Say,
Yeah. But no, I think it is better that Burton left, and honestly, I still do like a lot of what the vibe Schumacher goes for, at least in the first film, and to an extent in Batman and Robin, though I think it like went maybe a little too far in some places. So yeah, I'm kind of happy that this was all Burton did with it, and that Superman Reborn never happened, because that just, every time I hear about that, it just sounds fucking insane. But you know, it is what it is.
I mean, I want to see Burton Batman 3. I feel
Are
like
you gonna
that
read the
would have
comic
been...
or?
I need to read the first one still. DC released a version of the hardcover for Superman 78 and Batman 89 where they come packaged together as like a combo VHS. So they look like an old school box set of like two movies.
That's funny.
I kind of want to pick that up. I kind of want to pick that up and read the first 89 one and then before I read the second one. But I don't know. That has the same problem for me as, like, for example, making Uncharted into a movie, where like half the appeal is the medium you're in. Like, if I'm not watching a Tim Burton movie, why would I want a comic that's not a Tim Burton movie? It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me. Like from like just a conceit perspective, but I really want to see a third Tim Burton Batman movie. I feel like he kind of nails the look in a way no other Batman movie really ever has. Even as much as I love the Batman, I feel like the look of Returns is just perfect. And I think that the unique liberties he takes with this are frankly way more interesting than a lot of the other stuff that's happened since.
Yeah, for me, I would have liked to seen it if it was in addition to. Batman Forever is like my childhood intro to Batman, so I've got a very special place in my heart for that, and I tend to prefer Schumacher's take, so I think I'm with Ian where I think two's good, kind of got what you want, but I would have liked him. I wish we were in this current fucking James Gunn, Matt Reeves thing where we just have two people make two Batman movies at the same time, because I would have liked to live in a universe where Schumacher's Batman and Burton's Batman were happening at the same time. I think that would have been really fun just to imagine the fucking total whiplash. But then they've got a lot of overlap as well. You could probably have fucking swung it that it's the same universe still, just at different points of the timeline. Like, I actually do kind of fuck with how Batman Forever is better if you watch Batman Returns. And he's all like, yeah, killing kind of sucks now, actually. And that only works if you've watched the previous two Batman movies where he fucking kills everybody. So, like, yeah, I think that's it's interesting how those two connect. So, I think I'm happy to leave it at this. I think instead of doing comics, like Steve said, because I've read the first one, and I like elements of it, I fucking wish we got Billy D. Williams Two-Face. I think that's one of the biggest missed opportunities in comic book casting history. Yeah. He would have been so fucking good as a fucking Batman. The look in the book is perfect. If they had done that, and I can imagine Batman would have done something like that, I think it would have been fucking fantastic. He would have been miles ahead of Tommy Lee Jones. It would have been a comparison. And Tommy Lee Jones is a good actor, but he just is not interested in that fucking role.
I mean, he was. Again, my thing with that is just, you watch that first scene, which I have to imagine was the first thing they filmed, where he's like talking to the security guard. Best fucking Two-Face that we've gotten on film, as far as just like going straight from the comics kind of thing. So fucking cool. It's just the second he saw what Jim Carrey was doing, he's like, no, he's not going to upstage me, motherfucker. It's so bad. It's like, Just the way he's like describing Chance and everything. Such a good fucking scene.
I would have liked to see Barton do that with Billy Dee. I don't know if they ever actually would, but I would have liked to see that take and thing. But if they were going to do instead of a comic, I think they should have done a fucking animated fucking Barton claymation Batman movie if they were going to do one of these things. I think he would have been absolutely down for that. You could have fucking got Keaton back to do the... Keaton was even fucking Morbius. He'll do anything. So, like, you could have done...
He was in The Flash. He'll do anything.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you literally could go over with, like, what, $100 million, $120 million. Hey, Tim Burton, do you want to make an animated movie of what your Batman 3 would have been like? Michael Keaton will do the voice. They would say yes, and it would be free fucking money. So that would be my pitch to them, is like, don't make it at the time. Why not fucking make it now and do it as a fucking animated? Because then you get to have the Steve thing, right? Where it's still Tim Burton's Batman, but just as much as he is a live action filmmaker, he's just as known, if not more known, for his animated films. What would that look like? Would the suit be different? Like, all these kind of things. I think that's what I would have loved to see for a Batman 3 by Barton, as I would have liked them to just go completely animated. And what would he do with his animating style when combined with Batman?
Okay. Well, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm gonna announce what we're talking about next time. And then we'll wrap up with review. Ratings first, then I'll announce. So what will we rate Batman Returns? I'm most curious about Alfie's rating, I think.
For me, again, it's tough with movies that are still made well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm looking at like a really good piece of art and I'm like, yeah, but man, I don't like it and therefore I can't rate it. I just feel like I'm kind of an asshole about it. But I'm still gonna stick to my guns about it. I still think as much as Steve will glaze this movie more than the fucking Penguin wants to lick out Catwoman, I still have to be like, no. Sticking to my guns. I do not like the film with the yellow duck. So I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 erogenous zones blown sky high.
All right, I'm pretty much. I'm definitely more in line with you, I think, Alfie, than I am with Steve on this. But I did like it more on this watch through, definitely. So I'm going to give it... I'm hovering between 2.5 and 3. I'll be a little bit nicer and go ahead and give it 3 out of 5. Wrong umbrella. That's the cute one. Steve, can you give us the trifecta and pick a Penguin quote for rating?
Oh shit! All right.
Did you have a good one and I just ruined it? I'm sorry.
No, well, I had a good one, but now I'm trying to think of a Penguin quote because he's got so many good fucking ones in the movie. Shit. I'll give it 5 out of 5 penguin groping innocent teenagers.
Alrighty. Okay, so I'm very excited for next week because it's gonna be awkward as shit. No one's gonna know what the fuck to say. It's not a good movie. We're gonna review the 90s film about a snowman that comes, or about a person that dies and then comes back to life as a snowman, called Jack Frost.
Jack Frost.
And you might think,
Frost.
you might think that I'm saying,
damn
oh,
it.
Jack Frost. It's a perfect continuation because it's Michael Keaton Batman, Michael Keaton Jack Frost. Not that Jack Frost. We're gonna talk about the Jack Frost horror movie from the 90s. So
1997 Jack Frost.
yep,
Alright.
here we go. So everyone strap in for that one. I've got fun stories about that growing up, so you guys will have a fun time with that, I'm sure. There's a rape scene, so be ready for all the awkwardness that's going to create in conversation.
Does it involve the snowman?
Yes, and
Yeah, it does.
that's where we'll leave things. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
And I am the champion of Christmas.
And I am mortified.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!